Hi there. This is Terry Duncan with Cut, Color, and Create. Thank you for joining me today. I am super excited because I've got a surprise to share with you. I just received a package in the mail from Altenew, and you can see I've got a couple hints here. There are some new ink colors that are out in the Fresh Dye ink line, and I just can't wait to try those out. So we're going to be playing with those. And so there's this pink. I should know the set, but I don't. They have the same names as with the Crisp dye inks, but they're two of the ranges of my favorite colors. So we're going to play with those a little bit. So there's these two brand new lines in the Fresh Dye inks from Altenew that I'm going to play with. And what I thought I'd do is go back to a technique that I learned while I was going through the Altenew Educators Certification Program. And I'm going to do that with this surprise I have for you. Let me just put these inks a little bit out of the way. And I'm going to show you, I've got some light tack tape that we're going to use. I've got a couple of pieces of BetterPress porcelain because the surprise is that Altenew has a press plate that you can use with your BetterPress system. Now, can you see why I was so excited? So let's get started. I just want to press that image onto a piece of the porcelain, but you know how I am. I always like to try something new and different. I thought it might be fun to heat emboss it. So that is, that's part of this technique that I'm going to use. It's called faux watercoloring. And so I'm just going to get my plate out and I'm going to set this up on my press plate. I'm going to get these blending brushes out of the way. And I'm just going to arrange this. You can see the plate is quite large. And so we're just going to have to kind of play with it a little bit, I think. And let's see how it goes here. I can't decide whether I want to do the sentiment now or not. But what I'm kind of thinking is that maybe we arrange this where we might have to do this in two presses. But here's kind of what I was thinking is something like this. And then the sentiments, I don't know if you can see that or not, but they are thank you. And then there's some tiny little ones that say for all you do, or for being so awesome, or we appreciate you very much. And because I'm just experimenting, I think I'm just going to go with the thank you. And I'm going to put it right there, I think. We can always do it over, right? So that's what I'm going to try. And then I'm just going to tape my cardstock. I've just got porcelain. I think I mentioned that earlier. And I'm going to tape that in all four corners. And then I'm going to use some anti-static powder and just brush over that whole panel, making sure I get plenty. And I'm putting plenty of powder on because that does press down into the cardstock. So I want to make sure that I don't get ink anywhere but where I want it. And then I'm going to use my Versamark watermark ink. And I'm just going to, that moved. And both of them moved. So got to be kind of careful. I guess they're not as sticky as I thought they were. Maybe I'll come back like this a little bit. Okay. Those plates are really sticking to my watermark ink. Okay, so I'm just going to run that through the die cutting machine. I'm just going to set that aside. I'll worry about that later. And I'm going to carefully remove this tape. And then I am going to use white embossing powder. I keep mine in a tub like this, so it's kind of easy to see where I need to get the powder because of the pressed image. I'm going to let that sit for just a second. And it looks like it did a pretty good job. Okay, now I'm going to heat my tool up and then I'm going to move my heat gun over that powder till it's smooth and melted. Okay, so it appears to have done very well. It's almost opposite of what you normally do with heat embossing because the stamped image is down inside the cardstock instead of popped up on top. But that's part of the fun of what this experiment is. The technique that I'm going to use is, now that I've got the embossing down, I'm going to lightly blend the colors on where in the general areas that I want them to be. And then I'm going to use water to enhance the colors so it's kind of watercoloring with ink, but it's after I've blended it. So I do have some tiny little brushes too that I may have to use in some of these smaller crevices. So I'm just going to get a piece of paper towel here. And like I said, I'm going to use my new inks, and I just have to kind of decide what I'm going to do. So normally a hummingbird has kind of an emerald color. So I'm going to use that darkest emerald for a good portion of the hummingbird. And then they usually have a ruby neck. Now, here are the swatches of the new colors. And I'm kind of thinking that purple wine, which is kind of a magenta, might be real pretty for that. But we may start with puffy heart so that it doesn't get too dark. And then we'll just shade. I think that's what I'll do. I'll shade with the purple wine. This is just a DIY water brush, and I'm going to make sure that I don't have too much water in it. There we go. I don't know, maybe this idea isn't going to work. Well, maybe it is. There. Put a little more water on it. That's really not as impressive as I had hoped it would be. Well, I was really disappointed with my card at this point. In fact, you'll notice that I didn't even mount it on a card base. I just tossed it down and went on to the next card. But after I shut the camera off, I kept working on it, and I wanted to show you what I ended up with. So this is the finished card. You can see that I've added some gems to it. I used some colored pencils to add some shading. I used some watercolor to enhance the images, and I'm really pleased with it now with those changes. Oh, I added some splatter as well. So that is our finished project from that experiment, and I just wanted to share that with you. So I think my next experiment will be, I'm going to clean this up. Okay. So this time I'm just going to stamp it with black ink. That's much better. Isn't that pretty? Very pretty design. And I did see that I got a little bit of black ink over here, but I think I'll just trim that off. And I got my tape in the way. Hopefully that didn't bother that too awfully much. I'm going to use some watercolor pencils. So if you haven't seen Altenew's watercolor pencils, they come in a little tube like this, and they have all kinds of beautiful colors. And they have the same names that you're familiar with. So this is Rubellite, which is just what I was looking for. And I've got some greens that I may need. And some teals. This is Mountain Mist. And that is turquoise. Moss. I don't think I need that. And we may go with, that's crimson, but I really think Rubellite is what we'll go for. And there's ruby red. So let's see what happens when we use these to color with. I am just giving a wash over the whole bird with this Mountain Mist, except for where his ruby colored throat will be. And then I'm going to add in some of this. This is Mountain Mist. Well, what was this? Dewdrops. Maybe I will try turquoise. Just going to see what that looks like on the back of this. Wow, that's really dark. Well, I think I'll use a combination of colors here. Sorry, I'm not telling you what I'm doing. I'm just kind of adding in colors to try and create a variation so that when we add the water, they'll blend together. And I'm just adding in kind of where I think shading will be so that our little bird will have some dimension. And I'm just kind of going from a very light teal to what's called turquoise. Where's my rubellite? I just want to see what this is going to look like. And that is, I think that's the perfect color for his throat. So we'll just add that in there. And then to add some contrast, I think I'm going to go with orange and like a crimson. Really spice that up a little bit. So I'm going to do the centers with this kind of crimson red. And then I'll kind of change that to orange. See, that'll draw out the colors in our hummingbird, I think. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to use my wet marker, which I didn't cap off. So just going to make sure that I've got water in there. I want to make sure my brush is clean, and it's not. There we go. And we'll just start adding water to the pigment. This is the fun part. So I'm going to start, I think, over here with the flowers first. Oh, you know, wonder what color I should make his beak. I think I'm going to make it this. I never noticed. Okay, so because I want to keep the yellow on the tips, I'm going to start on the ends where the water is, and then I'm going to move towards the red. Just going to make sure I have water on my brush, and then that turned out very well, I think. And so while that's drying, I'm going to think about how I'm going to mount it. I'm just going to use a trimmer. because I think what I need to do is trim off this side, but I don't want to get too close. I think I'll just go down 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to do that on both sides. I'm not taking anything off the top because I put that right up in the corner there. Okay. So I don't know if you've seen this or not, but this is brushed copper from Altenew. And I think that goes beautifully behind our card. It's a mirror cardstock. Very pretty. So, and because it's mirror, I'm going to use double-sided adhesive sheets. And I'm just going to cut a piece slightly smaller. Excuse all the noise. So I'm going to cut that to, let's see, 4. No, I'll do it 5 1/4. A little bit bigger than 4. I'm going to cut 2 sheets because I'm going to use one for that, and then I'm going to use one for this. So I'm going to cut it slightly smaller. So that is 5 1/4. So this needs to be a little bit bigger than a 5. And this is 4, so I need to make it a little bit bigger than 3 3/4. And I'm just going to, if you haven't used this stuff, it is wonderful. It's easy to get the backing off, which is something I've always struggled with. And I say that, and now I have trouble with this. It's because I'm trying to hurry. There we go. And I'm just going to center it on the back there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this copper. Now I'm just going to make sure, yep, it looks like it's about the right size. Say that wasn't so bad. My puppy has decided to join us. So if there's extra noise in the background, you'll know that that is Molly. Okay, I'm going to put my card base down in my stamp wheel. And I'm going to put it so that the fold is down along the edge here. I'm checking to make sure I've got the top facing up. I'm just going to fasten that to the sticky mat. I'm going to remove the other backing paper on this double-sided adhesive paper. And then I'm going to push it towards this corner. And then when I get it in that corner, I'm going to push it down towards where the fold is so that it's nice and flat along that fold. And what that does is it helps get that panel on straight onto the card base. So that's that. And now I always struggle with getting things centered correctly, but that's what we're going to do next. And I'm going to stand up to do that. And there we have it. Our pretty little card made with Altenew's new press plate called Hummingbird Nectar. I hope you enjoyed this. I sure did. If you did, click on the subscribe button down below and click on the bell to get notified whenever I publish a new video. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.